Buddies skilled in wilderness survival understand bow hunting is essential, yet landing a shot with one arrow is uncommon. Combining the meat with morels, his expression alone tells you it's a treat if fortune smiles. Fishing with a gill net lands you bigger catches each time. It feels less like survival and more like a wild feast. Anyone want to team up and go? The challenge is on day 8, and 8 contestants are still in the field. Let's check in on Blake. His neglected hair has left his scalp itching unbearably. He needs a thorough wash. Given the sparse conditions in the wild, he begins by dousing his hair with water. Washing your hair in this weather is really cold. He can only use some weeds as shampoo, continuously rubbing his hair. This effectively cleans out much dirt, but the downside is the unpleasant smell. If not for the need to retain his hair for warmth, he'd surely shave it all off before arriving, hoping his scalp is bug-free. Then, he cleans the hair below. We'll skip the specifics of what follows. Once tidied up, Blake's a lot comfier. Time to snag more fish for his meal. What he didn't expect was to see something moving as soon as he got there. There must be a fish on the hook. He can't let this meal escape. He carefully reels in the fishing line. Fortunately, the fish doesn't have much will to survive, easily pulling it to the shore. The fish's size is impressive. Blake, overjoyed, longs to take an immediate bite. Truly, after dispelling the misfortune, the food problem is solved. If he can keep this up, he's quite confident he can make it to the end. He quickly returns to cook the fish, thrilled by its size, though it's somewhat bony. He has to eat slowly, fearing it might get stuck in his throat. He loves the natural taste. It's incredibly tasty. He'd happily eat this daily, potentially outdoing the show's budget. At the same time, William constructs his shelter. Although it's a bit small, it's just right for him, fully capable of handling the winter environment. After resting enough, he still needs to build a fireplace, needing to get some clay from the shore. The only problem is the shelter is some distance from the shore. Every journey drains a lot of energy, so he aims to haul back plenty to plug the fireplace gaps. Following that, he'll ignite a fire for drying purposes. The fireplace's compactness is beneficial, as it means less firewood is needed at night. As long as nothing unexpected happens, I believe I'll be very comfortable. After a busy period, I can look for some food nearby. I prepared a long and thin stick, turning it into a simple hunting tool. Yet, it proves highly effective. Several grouse are nearby. William will demonstrate its use to all. First, pinpoint the target's location. Don't rush forward immediately. While it's not paying attention, sneak up from behind. When it enters the range of the snare, slowly place it around its neck. You must be patient during this process, or you'll easily startle and scare the grouse away. It's wise to wait until the grouse voluntarily puts its neck through. Like this, William was able to catch a grouse. It really tests your patience. I think using a bow and arrow would be quicker. William is thrilled. Plenty of grouse are still nearby, promising more future catches for meals. He's got a spot for storing food too. After stashing the grouse, he resumes his hunt, aiming to snag a few more for a hearty meal. William's skills are improving. Soon, he snagged another grouse. He could potentially deplete the local population at this pace. On the 9th day of the challenge, fishing wasn't going well, so he decided to upgrade his shelter. He added more leaves on top, hoping it would make it a bit warmer. Suddenly seeing an owl excited him tremendously. He immediately grabbed his camera to take pictures. It's rare to see one awake during the day. He feels his luck is about to turn. Things are definitely going to get better. He went nearby to see what he could eat. For now, he's only found wild pea roots. Their taste isn't great, but they're filling. Yet, surviving on just these won't be sustainable. The key is whether there's meat to eat. Not only are there fish by the lake, but also carp. As long as he can catch one of them, he'll have bait to catch more food. Suddenly hearing something moving, Salar carefully observed and found a grouse in the tree. He immediately picked up his bow and arrow and approached slowly. Before it could react, he took it down with a single arrow, making Salar extremely happy. He hadn't seen meat in ages. Quickly, he brought it to the lake for cleaning. The innards would soon serve as bait. I'm confident this will lure in fish. Things are looking up. Eating the grouse is now our top priority. Combined with mushrooms and wild peas, it's even tastier. The meat's flavor exceeds my expectations. If only I could catch something every day. Salar feels quite hopeful. Let's see what Blake is up to. He crafted a basic rack, perfect for smoking meat and drying wood. Time to gather resources now. After winter comes, things might get a bit easier. I'm starting to miss my family. It's hard work every day here. Every part of me aches. I anticipated challenges, but the reality has surpassed my expectations. Right now, all I yearn for is to return and be with my wife. Even though I keep myself busy, the feeling of missing her hasn't lessened. Now, she just wants to find a place to rest. The passage of time is unclear. Blake shows up on camera, grouse in hand. It marks her inaugural grouse hunt. It's a pity it wasn't recorded. It took me 4 or 5 tries to get it right. Blake thinks it was really not easy. I'm unsure why my stomach's been upset. hoping the grouse I eat helps. After a simple preparation, I put it directly into the pot. The weight made me feel worse. I don't know if I've caught something. Besides the pain, I also have a bit of a fever. Although he really wants to eat this grouse, his body feels terrible. He has no appetite for meat at all. Standing up feels slightly better. Salah has been here for 10 days. Only now did he remember to hang up the photos. It's not a family photo, but sketches from his grandkids. Salah worries seeing family pictures might stir a longing for home. This drawing's quite nice. It lifts my spirits. It's not often I have bait. He plans to craft some gorge hooks. Then, he'll place them on a long line in the lake. Hopefully, he'll catch a big fish. Although they're called hooks, they're actually arrows on both ends. After a fish takes it, escaping isn't easy. This method could outperform traditional hooks. Grouse calls are a common sound. Had I not been inclined to fish, I'd have sought the grouse with my bow for a chat. In my youth, work always kept me occupied, troubled by family chores, but immersing myself in nature has relaxed me a lot. Although life here is a bit hard, I really enjoy this challenge, growing continuously in adversity. If possible, I hope to invite my family here. Everyone ought to see this landscape. Our dog's been a huge help, ready to fish in the water, just uncertain if the bait will work. Originally, the bait was wrapped in spruce branches, but it disappeared overnight. That really frustrated Sarah. Without bait, how can we catch fish? Do we have to spare some of our meat? Right now, it's a real dilemma, feeling like there's no good move. I can only pick up a bow and arrow to look for grouse, hoping to hunt another one. Although I didn't see any animals, I unexpectedly found some porcini mushrooms. The amount and size are good enough. These ensure we won't starve for the time being, giving me a slight boost in morale. Shortly after, I stumbled upon more. It appears fortune still favors me. I must continue to endure. The camera shifts to Blake, whose condition hasn't gotten better. He's troubled by something he can't identify. For now, I'll just eat some meat to ease it. I made a bowl that doesn't taste very good, but it's barely swallowable. This makes me feel even worse. Now, walking's become a struggle. Seems like I've caught some bug. Hunger and cold I can handle, but this is unbearable, and I haven't had a bowel movement in 10 days. I really should have called for a doctor sooner. Delaying only worsens my state, though possibly my sole opportunity. Withdrawing is unavoidable. I hope to get to the hospital for a checkup soon. The production team didn't realize how serious it was. Blake doesn't want to wait until he's carried out. While I still have the strength to walk, I'll go back and recuperate. This challenge has been incredibly now, it's uncertain who will win the prize money. It's really a pity. If Blake hadn't had health issues, he would probably have secured more food and could have stayed longer in the shelter. With Blake's departure, now 7 contestants remain, eager to see their day 11 performance in the challenge. William shifts to soak up the sun, relishing its warmth. I wonder, doesn't he feel cold doing so? William explains it dries him off, not for pleasure, but to wait out the cold. He went up the mountain to check on some things and suddenly realized his stash had been raided. All the food was gone, leaving only a pile of feathers. William recalled that in the wilderness, your stomach is the safest storage. Things looked grim. He had to start looking for food again. Looking at Jack, even though he had eaten quite a bit, he still felt very hungry. He aimed to gather enough meat to satisfy his hunger. Sadly, he lost the fish and had to clean up, then venture into deeper waters. Now, he really missed his family. It was too lonely here, and everything felt somewhat lost. His spirits lifted a bit when he found food, and he was hopeful about fishing in a new area. Despite being in the wild, he still had to wash his clothes. Boiling them in a cooking pot was the easiest method. Given it was all for personal use, being overly fussy wasn't necessary. Simply wait for the water to boil. Usually a minute or two suffices, unless the unforeseen occurs. Jack hadn't anticipated the scalding. In the wild, such wounds risked serious infection. Had he anticipated the outcome, he wouldn't have proceeded with washing. Now filled with regret, he quickly sought to treat the unexpectedly severe wound. He now needed to keep it dry. Bow and arrow use was impossible. He wished for a swift recovery of his hand, which appeared to have never been injured before. Staying till the end seemed unlikely. I figured Jack would have to leave early. His mood was already sour. Now, his mood had dipped even lower, yearning to return home for a family embrace. He sensed his continual errors here. Perhaps he wasn't cut out for this. Yet, by day 12, Craig remained upbeat, taking a moment to appreciate the surrounding landscape. Craig was eager to hunt a deer, knowing that catching big game often meant victory. He figured it was worth a shot. Even a smaller deer would suffice for a month's meals. True, deer had been spotted close by, yet they vanished swiftly. He had no choice but to settle for wings, hoping to fill his stomach. He had trained specifically for this before coming. As long as there were fish in the river, he was confident he could catch them. Today happened to be his child's birthday. He hoped this attempt would bring good luck. He joined the challenge primarily for his kids, aiming for their joy. Also, to demonstrate to them. In survival, one would encounter many difficulties. One must learn to persevere and overcome. He was here to set an example. He wished the editor would save more quality clips for the show. Despite not catching anything so far, his first choice was to attempt fishing. Given the dwindling daylight, Craig had already arranged several fishing lines, hoping to snag at least one fish. The next second, I saw he had a fish in his hand. He was so busy catching fish, he forgot to turn on the camera. He was in a great mood. Landing a big fish means a long-lasting food supply. Catching another on a separate line was a shock. Seems my kid's birthday wishes are magic. I'll have a good meal tonight. However, when I woke up the next day, I found myself bleeding. I didn't know what went. I hope this won't attract bears. Luckily, the bleeding stopped. No problems for now. Next, I need to build a shelter. The weather will get colder after winter sets in. I need to prepare in advance. The trees nearby are quite suitable. I plan to make a sloped roof. While smaller ones would be easier, I lean towards the bigger ones for their durability. At least that's what I tell myself. However, my regret kicked in once I began shifting them. It was truly laborious and time-consuming. Finally, the shelter's frame is done. Next is to fill in the gaps and then move in. Although my brother left us years ago, I've always missed him. I feel like he's here encouraging me. The more I think about it, the more it hurts. Once in such a quiet environment, you start to think a lot. No matter how hard I work, I can't escape it. I hope everything will get better. Look at my castle. Jack's hand is pretty bad. Most of the work can't be done smoothly. It'll take at least a week. Looking at this bandage, I couldn't help but laugh at myself. Now, fish are all I've got for food, but they say luck turns around, right? Just snagged 2 with the net, didn't I? Oh, and 2 more. Provided my hand recovers, I've got a shot at finishing this. Things will look up. Time to build a rack for smoking the fish now. Setting it up wasn't hard, but my injured hand slowed me down. After all the hustle, I finally got to eat fish. Even without any seasoning, Jack felt it tasted better than anything. While eating, he couldn't help but feel how tough he had it. By the 14th day, Craig enjoyed fish for breakfast and his shelter was nearly complete. Things were unfolding quite well for me. Suddenly, it seemed like something was approaching. He was quite annoyed. Despite the owl's disturbance, he was sure it was a deer. Do you think Craig will be able to hunt it? Let's wait and see.